Today I'm reacting to your Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts or bad thoughts or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you want to be featured in next week's Hot Takes video, make sure that you're following me on X because I ask for your hot take after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every WWE Premium Live event. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I am confident that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if you're looking for my personal review of Monday Night Raw, that's already up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZap. I'll put the link in the description or the pinned comment. But for now, let's read your stupid shit. Braun Strowman returning 1 week after that attack was just so weird. You have Seth written off TV for the exact same move, but then Braun's just back winning matches after almost being put through a car. I think you make an excellent point here. I actually didn't think about this in the context of Seth Rollins. Because you're right, if Seth Rollins was put on the shelf by Bronson Reed by the same move, then logic would dictate that Braun Strowman should also be put on the shelf. And I get it, Braun Strowman's the monster among men. He could probably take a bit more damage than the regular guy. And I also understand that Seth Rollins ate 6 tsunamis to Braun Strowman's 1 tsunami. However, Braun Strowman was tsunamied through a freaking car. You'd think he'd at least sell it for like a week, but instead they're like, my ribs kind of hurt, but I'm medically cleared. Put me out there and actually have him win the match is insane, which by the way, irresponsible management from Adam Pearce to allow this injured man who can barely breathe as he's talking to him to go out there and have a whole match. Absolutely ludicrous, but Adam Pearce's terrible on-screen management is a different conversation point altogether. I do think it's a shame that he won. I also think it's a shame that they held him as like the mystery opponent for so long. We basically got clickbaited. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. It was a disappointing reveal that it was Braun Strowman, and it was disappointing that Braun Strowman won, in my opinion. Braun should have 100% been on the shelf. Braun Strowman's main goal moving forward should be to get back at Bronson Reed, and if Bronson Reed wasn't going to be there this week, then Braun Strowman should have been held off of TV. It was a perfect opportunity to have Braun Strowman sell this insane attack from Bronson Reed. Joe Tessitore did a great job for his first show. He has plenty of things to work on, like learning the names of moves, when to speak, etc. He showed tons of promise. Hype for the future with him. I'm with you. I thought that his voice was fantastic, but yeah, it's his first day on the job. He's not a master, and he doesn't come from the professional wrestling industry. There is going to be growing pains, but after just 1 episode, I can already tell that he is way better than Kevin Patrick. To be fair, that is not saying a lot. I feel like, bragging about being better than Kevin Patrick is like bragging about being the principal of a homeschool. It's just nothing that you really want to announce to the world. But the things that he was lacking in are things that I think are going to improve with time. Like the name of moves is something that isn't a fundamental problem with his commentary skills. It's just knowledge, which he's going to pick up as time goes by. Did I find it funny that he called Ilya Dragunov's Torpedo Moscow finisher the running shoulder? Yes, it was hilarious. But again, these are just growing pains of somebody that's just coming into his own in this industry. But he had some great calls as well that were very poetic, like when he said the South of Heaven chokeslam from the Rocky Mountains. I thought that was a great call. But is there room for improvement? Absolutely. Is it fair to expect room for improvement for somebody who's their first day on the job? 1000%. So I know that there's a number of conglomerates on Twitter that have their pitchforks out and already want this guy out. Just stop. Just let him do his thing and let him develop. And let's talk about this in a month down the line. If he hasn't improved, then maybe there's cause for concern, but I really don't believe that there is at the moment. I don't know how much more I can take of Finn Balor looking so weak. It's now to the point where I'm actively rooting against Priest and Jay tonight, 2 of my absolute favorites. I feel almost bamboozled, hoodwinked, lied to when it comes to Finn Balor. I was fed a false promise by his spot at SummerSlam where he stopped Damian Priest from retaining his World Heavyweight Championship. I thought that we were gonna get backstabber Balor, this Balor that, doesn't care about friends, a Balor that's there to rise to the top, a Balor that was worthy of being in the main event scene. And what we're seeing is just none of those things. In fact, I dare say that he looks like an even bigger loser right now than he did before he turned on Damian Priest. And that's saying a lot because he was also just a big loser before that. It's a shame, and I do want to see them turn it on with Finn Balor, and I know that that they can. At any moment, Triple H can snap his fingers and make Finn Balor feel special, but I already felt like that moment happened, which was his turn on Damian Priest, and they've done absolutely nothing with the momentum that he had coming off of that betrayal. Because there's no bigger betrayal that he can do. There's no bigger heel move that Finn Balor can accomplish at the moment. He did it. He did the big heel thing, and instead of rising with it, he's just actually been slowly losing stock, in my opinion. So it's a shame. I bought into the Finn Balor hype train after SummerSlam, and I feel like I accidentally put a bunch of you guys on that train as well, so I apologize. But right now, my hype levels for Finn Balor are damn near in the basement, sadly.
Timing. Oh my God.
Dude, the crowd is losing it. Oh!
They're just, and then he power bombs him right on top of Drew.
Oh.
Kick from Cole. Oh, he's what he did against Ospreay.
Rad, right?
Yeah.
Look at this angle, too. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch-alongs, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're getting the Rhodes Brothers versus The Shield for the tag titles. A last man standing match between Ilya Dragunov and Dijak. The Triple Threat Classic between Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther at WrestleMania 39. A Forgotten Gem between Drew McIntyre and Adam Cole down in NXT. And the legendary last man standing match between Umaga and John Cena. You're gonna get these and more, like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else, and our Royal Rumble watch-alongs that we're doing. We're going through every Rumble in history at the moment. Again, all of this is available on patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that you're gonna fall in love with it if you even just give it 1 month. Again, the link will be in the description or the link in the pinned comment. Now, back to the video. Ilya should win next week. It gives Ilya a great opportunity while having the Judgment Day cost Jay. It does sort of feel like they're being really ham-fisted at Jay being the one to win this, considering the only person that Braun Breaker seems to be interacting with or talking about is Jey Uso, kind of spoiling that Jey Uso is going to win this. Maybe it is a misdirect. Maybe Jey Uso will lose because of the Judgment Day and somebody else will swoop in and get the victory, whether it's Ilya or Pete Dunne. I hope it's not Braun Strowman, but I wouldn't put it past them to give it to Braun Strowman at this point to help Braun Breaker even look like more of a badass. But yeah, it does sort of feel like they've played their cards regarding Jey Uso, and Ilya Dragunov just sort of feels, at least going into this Fatal 4-Way, like he's just out there to do the good moves and make sure that this match is a good match. And it's a shame. Like, Ilya Dragunov should absolutely be a threat to any champion in the roster, and unfortunately, I just don't feel like he's been booked in such a way to make me genuinely believe that he's a threat to anybody with a title. But we'll see, man. Like, these are the times in the WWE calendar year where, like, the most random people get opportunities. We saw it with Bronson Reed this year. We saw it with Nakamura last year. So it's possible that maybe at some point during this fall, the lead up to the end of the year, that maybe Ilya Dragunov all of a sudden gets hot with booking, and maybe we're talking about a world where Ilya Dragunov is actually a threat. But right now, at least he's putting on awesome matches with Dragon Lee, at least. Speaking of which, would not mind seeing a best of 7 series between these two. Look, the best of 7 series between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes has single-handedly saved both of them, because it saved the Andrade return to the WWE because it was feeling stale and it was feeling like they had nothing for him, and it saved Carmelo Hayes, who seemed like he was just floating in the middle of the ocean after getting called up. Meanwhile, all his other buddies like Braun Breaker and Tiffany Stratton were being pushed to the moon, but they came together and they've done something special, and they are now must talk, and now they are on the borderline cusp of being good enough to be on a PLE at Bad Blood. So there is something here. There is something to the narrative where if you just let two guys do the thing that they're amazing at, that they're eventually going to make magic. And I think that when we're talking about talent, Ilya Dragunov and Dragon Lee absolutely check both of those boxes. I would love to see this. It works over on SmackDown, and I would love the same type of feud happen every other week on Monday Night Raw as well. It would make sure that Monday Night Raw always has a banger guaranteed, just like how it's a banger guaranteed anytime that Carmelo Hayes and Andrade have a match. The first time we were intrigued. The second time we're like, okay, cool, the sequel. The third time we're like, shit, yeah. And then the fourth time there was like genuine, like PLE worthy buzz for that fourth match. And we still have probably the game 5, 6, and hopefully game 7 at Bad Blood. So when it comes to this, it still seems a little bit far-fetched, but I could see it working and I would love it. Having Liv Morgan run from a one-legged Rhea Ripley is is crazy. Yeah, they are not trying to make Liv Morgan feel like a strong champion. They are very clearly in the camp of Liv Morgan is a slimy, weaselly champion, and this is what the slimy, weaselly champion does. It doesn't matter that Rhea Ripley is on one leg. She recognizes that even a one-legged Rhea Ripley is gonna beat the shit out of her. So we need to, in my mind, get out of the mentality that the champion needs to be physically strong. I think that there are situations where the champion can just be the smarter one, the one that outwits and outmaneuvers the person that is physically stronger than them, like Liv Morgan did to Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. But if we're gonna make Liv Morgan the one that outwits Rhea Ripley, then you have to make Rhea Ripley the one that is the monstrous one of the two that could eat their weight in protein if given the opportunity. So I'm not of the mind that this is making Liv Morgan look bad. I feel like it actually just adds to her character, a character that's weaselly, slimy, and only is going to win with guerrilla tactics. By the way, I had a lot of people ask me about guerrilla tactics. It's guerrilla, not gorilla like Harambe. R.I.P. Harambe, we'll never forget. Contender tournaments should be reserved for when anyone that's involved has a real shot at winning. This Intercontinental Championship title picture feels like it's already foreshadowed that Jey Uso is next for Braun Breaker, especially since their feud has already started in recent segments. So we talked about this earlier. If this is a misdirection, then it's actually kind of brilliant, but I don't see it being a misdirection. To me, it's pretty clear cut that it's going to be Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker, whether it's on the Go Home episode of Raw or Bad Blood. Who the hell knows when they put it? But I do agree with you. I think that this is a disservice to everyone else that's involved in the match, not only because I think it spoils it, but also because it absolutely takes drama away from the match because we only know the motivations of Jey Uso. Imagine if we had the motivations of Braun Strowman, the motivations on screen from Ilya Dragunov and Pete Dunne, then all of a sudden you can get behind any one of the four. Even if there is a logical favorite to win, you can still realistically get behind somebody because you understand what their motivations and their end goal is for their character should they were to win this. But as it stands, the only one that has any of that character development right now in this tournament is Jey Uso. So I don't love what they've been doing. The matches have been great, don't get me wrong. Would I like to see Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker? You goddamn right that I would, but I would love a little bit more mystery, a little bit more, hey, I wonder what's behind the curtain type of feel, because right now it just sort of looks like we're looking through a transparent window and we can see that Jey Uso is on the other side. On the other side. Hopefully the 8-man tag match with the Wyatt Six and American Made next week is the end of the feud and both parties move on to something else. So I'm with you. I'm kind of good with this feud. If it's not going to blow off at a PLE, let's go our separate ways. Let's have a fun street fight to end this and I'm good with it. And I think overall it'll be considered a good feud. But here's my question, and here's a question that I have for myself. Where does the Wyatt Six go from here? Like, what is considered, hey, we completed what we were trying to accomplish with American Made and Chad Gable? Is it really just winning? Is it changing their ways? I don't know. I've asked this before. I don't fully understand what the win condition is for a group like the Wyatt Six that has more motivations beyond just getting a 3 count. That being said, I'm also very curious where they could go. Would they go after another faction? Would they go after an individual? If they go after an individual, more often than not, that makes them the heel. If they go after a faction, that often makes them babyface. So we'll see. I feel like they could go in pretty much infinite number of directions. It should have been Omos, Ivar, or Joe Hendry who took Bronson Reed's spot in the triple threat to add surprise to it. Look, regardless of who it ended up being, whether it was Braun Strowman or any of these people that you listed, I have a problem with the WWE, and that is that they've been clickbaiting mystery opponents or mystery tag partners too much, and it's bothering me because every single time the end result ends up being just the most obvious person ever. Remember when Cody Rhodes didn't have a tag partner and the whole question was, who is Cody Rhodes going to tag with? That's what we were waiting for. We were waiting for that big reveal, and because they kept keeping it a mystery, you thought to yourself, oh, well, it can't be Kevin Owens if they're making such a big deal out of this. It's gonna have to be somebody else because clearly they're going for surprise. It was just Kevin Owens, and they did the same thing with Braun Strowman. The Bronson Reed is out. Here's a mystery silhouette. Who's going to be the opponent? Adam Pearce is looking for somebody. You're thinking it's going to be a surprise, somebody interesting, because they've been keeping that mystery from you and stringing you along through the show to make you want to find out who it is, which then logically leads you to assume that it's going to be a surprise. And then Braun Strowman, which is like the least surprising option possible. We've been getting far too clickbaity from the WWE. Leave the clickbaiting to the Santi Zaps of the world. Sami is overhated. Preach it, brother. My goodness, I haven't seen so many groans and so much hatred from people online when Sami Zayn came out and interrupted Gunther and called a shot for the World Heavyweight Championship. That absolutely blew my mind. Kairi is a goddamn warrior for taking that table to the face and still getting in the ring to step up to Bianca and Jade. Absolute aura from her. First of all, I hope she's okay. That looks scary. She took the edge of that desk right to her eye. She was bleeding. Her eye was red. I'm sure that she's gonna be feeling that the morning after. But the blood running down her face, her continuing to pursue to do that moment where she's like smiling, kind of like spreading the blood, mean mugging Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I almost want to say that singular moment put Kairi over more on the main roster than she's ever been. That's the coolest shit she's ever done. And I know that moment was supposed to be like, oh yeah, baby faces, we're baby faces, we're both mean mugging each other. But to me, it looked like she was backing down Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair because of like that bloody face. Like she looked like legitimately scary. So shout out to Kairi for dealing with that nasty, awful, gruesome injury that she dealt with and making the most of it, because I thought that she dealt with it, like you said, a goddamn warrior. Gunther versus Sami is a filler feud until the Punk and Drew feud is done. Punk versus Gunther will happen at Survivor Series and possibly the Royal Rumble as well. Well, here's the thing. I want to mention a couple of things. I don't think that Gunther versus Sami is a filler feud, but I understand your mentality. I don't think that Gunther versus Randy Orton was a filler feud either. I think that both Randy Orton and Sami Zayn play critical roles at helping elevate Gunther's championship reign right off the bat, because both of them are both Gunther's asterisks in his career. He lost to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. That's who he lost his historic championship reign to. That's his last major loss in his career. And then Randy Orton is the guy that he never properly beat because he didn't pin him at King and Queen of the Ring in the final of the tournament. So he needed to beat both of them to put both of those asterisks away from his name. He needed to be Randy to demonstrate that, yeah, he was absolutely the legitimate world champion, and he needs to beat Sami Zayn to remove the one guy that's beaten him from the equation right off the onset from his world championship reign, so that everyone else moving forward, they're just brand new. We're in uncharted territory. Let's just get these two out of the way and just let Gunther ride with brand new feuds moving forward, like Punk, like pretty much anyone, Seth Rollins, whoever it might be. Also, it's interesting to note that when Drew McIntyre beat CM Punk after SummerSlam, he wanted Gunther, and then CM Punk attacked him. And then after CM Punk beats Drew McIntyre at Bash in Berlin, CM Punk calls for Gunther, only for Drew McIntyre to attack him. So it's kind of like interesting how full circle that was. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is getting old. Both should move on to different feuds. How? I don't understand how you could possibly say this. Brother, it's a trilogy of matches, and we're at the end where you literally made it to the end, and now you want to complain that it's taking too damn long, that the feud is going on forever. You're at the finish line. You're at the climax, brother. Let it finish. It's bad blood. It's Hell in a Cell, and we're probably never going to see these guys feud again on Monday Night Raw. After Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, it's uncharted territory and back to doing dream matches for CM Punk that we wish we could have had in the 10 years that he was gone. But we need to get through this, and we're at the moment where it's going to be at its best, a Hell in a freaking Cell match, and you're getting tired of it? It's getting old? Dude, I don't get you. Raw without Michael Cole and Pat McAfee doesn't have the same energy. I get it, but I do think that they are going to be the commentary team for Monday Night Raw. To me, it's not lost that they sent Michael Cole over to SmackDown, and I think it's clearly because SmackDown's about to move over to the USA Network, so they wanted a familiar voice on the USA Network of a commentator that's already been on the USA Network, like Michael Cole this entire time. But I do think it's going to be Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on Monday Night Raw and Netflix, and Wade Barrett and Joe over on SmackDown in the USA Network. That's what I'm foreseeing. Ludwig Kaiser deserves better. I agree. He should have won that triple threat, in my opinion, after what happened in Berlin, how hot he was, the great match that he had against LA Knight, the great work that he's been doing leading up to this, the fact that he's kind of recently back from injury. He should have won this, in my opinion. And what's annoying is that he's kind of the only one out of that triple threat that walked out with nothing. Sheamus lost, but at the very least, he's still got that thing going on with Pete Dunne. Braun Strowman won and is going into the final, and Ludwig Kaiser is just sort of left holding the bag doing nothing, which is just such a shame. Jay needs to win singles titles soon. Sweet summer child, that doesn't happen around these parts. All we get is the hope and the aspiration that he might win a world title or a singles accolade of any sort, and then they'll pull the rug out from under us. Like, come on, you should start to learn the tricks by now. Dirty Dom becoming the greatest heel of all time in front of us. I actually disagree. I don't think that he's becoming the greatest heel of all time, because I just don't see how a gentleman like Dominic Mysterio can even be considered a villain. I don't understand how a man that tried to end the rivalry with Rhea Ripley by giving her a firm handshake and a hug and an apology, how that man can possibly be seen as a villain in this world of the WWE. This man is one of the best faces that I've ever seen. That man is going to be the face of WrestleMania, the face of every outside endeavor, third-party campaign that the WWE does. That man is a hero. Dirty Dominic Mysterio is becoming the top babyface of all time in front of us. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching this video. I'm done. Thanks for sending in your hot takes. Get out of here.